Right, so the day's the day. We're going to be installing all of this onto the car. So I've got the new Supercharger down here. It's a C38-61. It's got a 110mm pulley on it and a 2.5-inch outlet, 45 degree. I've modified the intake of the intercooler to 2.5-inch. I needed to do that in order to get the boost pipes in the right place. The old setup was completely in the wrong place, although it was using 3-inch, but 2.5-inch should be absolutely fine. We've got a new black intake hose to go on the throttle body. Got the Rotrex oil cooler. As you can see, it's pretty big. It's going to be mounted between the intercooler and the radiator. Hopefully this does a lot better job than the old one. I think it was a little bit mounted a little bit too high. New belt. I believe it's the same size as the old belt I was using. I've got all the lines you see. I've sort of mocked this up over previous weekends to try and make this a little bit easier, and I've put this in some sort of conduit to try and protect it. I've got shrink wrap on the ends to try and keep it in the same place. I've got AN fittings going on to the oil cooler. This is the Rotrex reservoir. This is going to have banjo bolts on it at top and bottom. It's also got a temperature sensor that's been tapped into it, which will go into my little gauge on my dash. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. More oil lines. Got the oil filter for the Rotrex system. I may have to modify this bracket. This was the original bracket, but we'll see how we got along with this. It's the Forge recirc valve. It's 38mm. I believe it comes off an Evo single piston. Again, that was on the car previously. This is the pipe that connects the blow-off valve back into here, which is again pretty much the same as before. And then we've got the intercooler. Now there's been a little change on the intercooler. This pipe here used to come out at this angle. With moving the battery forwards, which was one thing I've done, I'll go over later, that made, well, basically it meant the valve wouldn't fit, the recirc valve, so we've had to modify that to point straight down. Apart from that, that end is exactly the same. This end has been changed a little bit as well, a little bit more. It's difficult to see, but basically that's a 3-inch cast aluminium bend, and this is an aluminium straight piece of pipe which has been stuffed inside and then welded up. There's actually two sections to it. There's this section here and then a section here, but this allows you to basically twist it to the right orientation to get it directly at the supercharger, which is what that pipe fits onto. So that's a 2.5-inch pipe. It's 2.5-inch 45. So that all fits up nicely because I've had it test fitted before. Oh yes, I did change the feet as well. I've had to move the intercooler forward slightly to get the oil cooler inside, or in between the radiator and the oil cooler. Sorry, in between the radiator and the intercooler. So I've had to move it forwards by about 1-2 centimeters. As you can see, the feet are welded on the end, and I'm using the original air conditioning rubber stops. I have cut them down slightly, as you see at the top, and they're not as thick as they usually are. And there's a shot inside there, not that I think you can see anything. But yeah, it's been pressure tested. There's no leaks on any of it, which is good. And this is the top mount that I use to hold the intercooler forwards. So basically on the bash bar on the car, bolt goes through here and gives it a little bit of a flex back and forth, left and right if needed it. But that worked on the old previous version. So yeah, now we'll get on to actually installing it. Okay, she's all apart, so we can now start installing stuff. So first thing to note down here is this notch here and here. Basically with the C38 series you're going to need to notch the subframe. It will fit on there without doing this, but the problem is the engine rocks back and forwards on these mounts, which I've got inserts in, and yeah, so close it probably will hit under load. So this just gives it a little bit more room on the compressor housing and the bottom of the bracket here. So you need to use the 4 bolts, which is one here, and 2 up there, as you can see. There's also a big one in here for the pulley, which you need, and they all need to be Loctited in. There are no torque settings for them either, so just FT will do. So that'll be the first thing we do. Also, I've removed the belt because you need a longer one. So let's get this all put on, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, now everything's bolted up. All the bolts are Loctited. There's a tensioner pulley in there as well. It doesn't move, but it gives more tension to the pulley on the Rotrex Supercharger. Now the belt is on. That was an absolute nightmare to get on. Normally, I'd pull the tensioner, which is this thing, down and it swings out back, and then just slip it over here. But you've got these ridges on here. So the way I did it was put it on all the pulleys apart from the water pump, which, as you can see there, doesn't have a rib around the outside. So you have to just literally slide over there, and it is tight. Obviously it'll loosen up once the belt runs, or the engine runs and the belt goes around, it'll tension to the right level, but it is very tight to get that on there. So that goes to the oil cooler. So that's probably the next thing we need to do. Rotrex bottle is going to mount up here, so we'll probably make that line next, or install it. Okay, we've now got the feed, or part of the feed line on. So obviously the bottle's going to be around here. I haven't actually installed that yet. The filter for the Rotrex Supercharger is there. As you can see, it's already connected. It comes under here. Not actually touching anything under there, and comes all the way up here and into the feed line. Have to excuse the crappiness on that one, but now we just need to create the connection for the bottle, and then we can put the oil cooler return line in. So I'll show you that next. Okay, so I've now created the return line and installed it. We've mounted the bottle, and as you can probably tell, I've had to make a new bracket. The other one was too high, so this one's sort of slightly lower down. In there. That's the connection that goes to the bottom of the bottle. There are the 2 clamps that keep it on, and they go through in there. A little bit of a spillage. And so it's not going to move anywhere, it's all pretty much bolted to this, so it's not going to go anywhere. I've zip tied this with 2 zip ties to the outside. It's not pinching it at all, so it should be fine. I've actually pushed the fluid up here, done that by using this pipe, and then you undo that banjo belt and you blow in the top hole, and it basically pushes the fluid out here. So that's how you prime the system. Have a run in the car for about a minute just to try and fill this up. It's probably up to about here at the moment, and I'll run it a little bit longer when we put the radiator on to completely bleed the system and get it running as it should do. So that's it basically. I need to put the radiator on and everything else. We'll go from there. The next step, as you can see, is to install the intake. So I mocked this up before, did all the clamps up. I've also sanded this to give it a bit of a brushed aluminum effect. I've got the air filter on there. Actually all fits in really well, really nicely. See, there's quite a lot of room in there for the radiator hoses. Next thing to do is probably install the battery, and then we can get the radiator in. My dump valve, I've already connected the pipe I'm going to use. Okay, so another thing I've installed is the vacuum tube for the fuel pressure regulator. This was going to be a 90, unfortunately because of this I can't get it on. So it's just going to be a straight fitting, loops around, comes up the top, tie up to the fuel line, return line, and then it goes to the fuel pressure regulator. So that's all fitted nicely. Next, another thing to do is install the return from the dog valve. So let's get on with that. Okay, so as you can see, most of it's now fitted. All I've got left to do is the actual pipe up here between the throttle body and the outlet of the intercooler. One thing that's been a bit of a nightmare is the oil cooler. I don't know if you can see it down there. Yeah, there we are. Basically, it needs enough movement in it so that it can actually move when the engine moves. As you can see, the intercooler has got quite a bit of movement in it, which is good because I used to crack. I actually had a solid fitting between here and the crash bar. I used to crack this all the time. I've got a turnbuckle here to support the top of the oil cooler. This is just so it's basically adjustable and we can lock it off. Got 9 locks on all of this. And this is here so that if the intercooler pushes back enough, or the engine pulls the intercooler back enough, it'll stop the oil cooler from going into the intercooler. There's loads of clearance on the back there for the radiator, so it isn't going to be a problem. Another thing we've got around here, we've got the dump valve, or reset valve. It goes back, as you can see, into the tube. I had to extend it with a bit of a metal pipe because I unfortunately cut some of the silicone around and made it a bit too short, but that all works really nicely. One thing I've forgotten to do is check the vac nipple on the bore valve, but never mind. And so this pipe here is basically the last one to do, which is from there, that red cap is, up onto there. That's pretty much it. Then we just got to do the injectors and load the MAF on. Oh, and the bash bar. We're going to have to modify that as well, but we are getting there. Okay, as you can see, I've put most of that together again. Got the crash bar, it's been painted, it's also been extended out. All I've done is slotted the holes a little bit more and added a washer on the bottom and the top. This is just temporary really, it's going to be powder coated at some stage. As you can see, I've got my mount back up onto here. It's just basically a piece of rubber with 2 holes in it. This, although it may look like it's going to hit the radiator, it won't. There's actually, get my thumb behind it, so there's actually quite a lot of movement there. It won't move back that far anyway, now with this mount. So that's protecting the radiator and the oil cooler from hitting each other. Got the washer bottle back on down the side there. As you can see, got the pipe connected up here, and I've actually had to reroute some of the cables. They were coming through here before, and I go around the back side of the pipe. Loads of room for that. I had to cut this as it was sticking too far out. Just a little bit of a trim. As you can see as well, I had to cut the bumper out a little bit more. It's a dual skin here, but it was just hitting in the corners. It's not the neatest job ever, but it will do for the moment. My intention is to fit the cone filler in the bumper. Obviously I can cut some of this out to give airflow through here into the cone, but that's the final resting place hopefully of the cone filter instead of in the engine bay, but I'm not going to do that yet. That will happen at a later date. So yeah, so this is all done. Just need to do the injectors, change the gauge and load the MAF on. Give it a bleed as well and check the Rotrex all level, but that's about it. So let's get that done. Right, so I've installed the injectors, which are Injector Dynamics 1000cc injectors. I've de-pinned the original clips, which is pretty easy. Just need a screwdriver, flat screwdriver, small one. I've had to modify it a little bit, but basically you get in there. I won't focus on that. Take this blue cover off. You can get in there, push the clips up, and then they'll all slide out the back, and they'll actually slide straight into these. So no need to repin anything. And pretty much that's why when it did go wrong, it only took me about 3 hours to put it back to standard. So yeah, don't break them, and then you can revert back if you need to. So what else have we done? Well, I put cable tie in here because obviously this part's going to see boost. So the one-way valve goes to the idle air assist valve. So I installed the injectors, put the new gauge on, fuel pressure gauge. The old one was about 5 psi out, but it had been in there for about 4 years, so came to expect that. Tie wrapped all the wires up out of the way. It's about as neat as you're going to get it. I actually haven't installed this, was installed all the time. It's a 4-bar map sensor, and that's pretty much it. I have started the car up, which I'll do in a second. It seems to idle fine. Currently running the old map for the old Supercharger. Obviously, I'm going to drive it down to be mapped, so I'm not going to boot it. Just going to drive it normally. It should be fine because I should be off boost. Still need to bleed the coolant system a little bit more and just check the Rotrex oil level. But literally that's it. Actually, it's about to start to rain, so I'll start the car up for you and see how it idles. Okay, so about to start the car. The 1000cc injectors in the old map. There's no idle air control valve as well. So there we go, it's idling at about 1000 RPM. It's 27-degree oil temperature, pretty hot today. And if you flick it over, it goes to 18 degrees Rotrex oil temperature. So I've got this little switch down here, 2 sensors, 1 switch, 1 gauge. Basically you can switch between it. It's quite a nice little feature on Cred. That's the air-fuel ratio at the moment. It's about right. Moves around quite a lot. As you can see, no engine check light or anything. So we can't hear. It's a lot quieter than the old Supercharger. It's not making that whiny noise anymore. And as you can see, the fuel pressure sits low. You take this off of here. It's obviously at 3-bar idle, or 3.5-bar idle. And then under that goes down. That's basically to save you a bit of fuel, I believe, as far as I'm aware. That's pretty stable, all works well. So yeah, so the next stage is going to be, I'll turn the car off so you can hear me. So the next stage is basically going to be taking it to be mapped. It's going to be mapped at TDI, PLC and Thurrock. Hopefully we'll make some good numbers and won't blow anything up. But if we do, there's one thing that I've got standing on the engine stand. It's a second engine. I will be building it at some stage, forging pistons and rods. Probably won't touch it more than that, but hopefully I'm going to try and build it myself. And yeah, and for you that haven't probably seen from the video earlier on, if you hadn't guessed, I've got some new suspension. So we'll be doing a video on that soon. Another thing is, I have read a comment, quite a lot of people have asked this question as well, about the brakes. So I will be doing a video on the brakes. Obviously it's a kit that you can buy, but I'll go into that in a bit more detail. Works really well. I've never faded them on track, but then that's probably down to the pads. It's pretty cheap to replace the discs as well, because they're Nissan 350Z discs. So it's a great cheap alternative to some of these stop tech kits. I personally believe it's just as good, if probably not better. A monoblock caliper as well, so pretty much got every feature you need. So anyway, we will be doing a video, as I say, on the mapping, taking Joe along from Gassed Up, and I assume he'll have a video on his channel as well. So we'll see you then.